What's up, y'all? It's your guy, eBay Fight Predictions in the building, and this is your Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway film study breakdown at UFC 300. Phenomenal fight at UFC 300 that we're getting. But this fight in particular is a fight I've been kind of flipping around. I do think it's a harder fight than a lot of people are giving Max a lot of credit for. I think Gaethje's going to have to deal with a lot of problems, but I have this overall sentiment that I think Justin Gaethje wins this fight. It's just there's a lot of variables that go to my head where I'm like, well, Max is making the bulk up, right? We're seeing all these videos and these photos of him looking like, oh, he's jacked, he's making a legitimate push to 155 finally, like something I've been asking for the last 3 years is he makes this legitimate push to 155 and he's finally doing it. So I'm actually happy we're getting this. He cut the hair, short hair Max. A lot of these things that obviously the short hair stuff doesn't matter, but some of the sentiments that he's making a legitimate push to 155, he's having a legitimate camp to 155 are variables. But at the same time, we know who Justin Gaethje is. He is one of the most devastating knockout artists in the lightweight division, who also has some of the best leg kicks in the world. So it's kind of a tough fight for Max. But if anyone can pull the upset here, out of the 3 film study breakdowns that I am doing, out of Jamal Hill and Alex Pierre and Yuri Prochazka and Rakic, I think Max has a legitimate chance to really go out here and upset I wouldn't say shock the world, but win as the underdog here. But at the same time, I just honestly feel like Justin Gaethje steamrolls him. So obviously, I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. But let's talk about the tape. Obviously, the tail of the tape, and it's a phenomenal fight. Like before I talk about anything, this is going to be for the BMF title. It's a great barn burner fight. It's going to be awesome. But I think everyone has the same sentiment. Justin Gaethje might kill this guy. So, but at the same time, it's Max bless Holloway. As much as I might not like Max Holloway, I know that sounds crazy not to like him, but I more or less his fans. Now, I think everything's died down. Volkanovski made it super clear who was the better fighter. If you were Team Volk or your Team Max, it is what it is. I'm letting bygones be bygones. We're turning a new leaf on that chapter. But I think it would be nice, in my humble opinion, if Justin Gaethje is one of the first guys to knock out Max Holloway. That would be nice. It would be insane. But at the same time, we have to respect Max Holloway in this matchup. And it could be a legitimate close fight. But let's talk about the tail of the tape. Justin Gaethje comes with a record of 25-4. He is the BMF champ himself. He's defending his belt. He's a -10 moderate favorite. He's fighting out of Colorado, age 35, so that's a big thing. 35 years old. A height of 5'11 and a reach of 70. Max bless Holloway comes with a record of 25-7. Is the +175 slight underdog. Is fighting out of Hawaii, age 32. Height of 5'11 and reach 69. So here's the thing about both these guys. These guys are known for crazy fights and taking damage. So I'm not going to come at you and say, oh, Max Holloway has a bunch of miles on him and this and that. I'm not going to say that because I honestly don't think that's true necessarily. And if I'm going to say that about Max, I got to say it about Justin Gaethje at the same time. So I think both guys have a lot of miles on them, but they're both still in the best form of their careers. I mean, Max has shown some maybe like, degrading of his style, but still, I mean, he's still winning and he's still finishing people and he's beating the best at 145 besides Volk or Ilya. So I can't really knock him for that. And Justin Gaethje at the same time has made a bit of a revival of his career after losing to Charles Oliveira in very dominant fashion. Well, I shouldn't say dominant, ferocious fashion. He did destroy him to a certain degree. But one of the biggest things that I look at is age in the matchup. And 35 years old for Justin Gaethje. If you're a Justin Gaethje backer, like myself, that is such a fucking punch to the gut. That sucks because that 35-year-old thing has been my goddamn number for this year. Has been kind of picking fights. We've been judging a lot of people based on their age, and if they're taking a step back. Now, Justin Gaethje, he looked great last year. I don't know if this is the fight where he looks like he takes a step back, but I don't know. It's a hard call to make. But I'm gonna trust Justin Gaethje in this spot, even though he's 35 years old. To do what he has to do here. But yeah, obviously, Max Holloway's 32. He's in his prime, so that's also something to be scary of. But styles make fights, and I'm gonna explain to you why stylistically Justin Gaethje can dominate this fight based on his style. But before I could talk about why I feel the way I feel, let's talk about the film. And obviously, this is a 3-fight film study breakdown. If you don't know how it goes, I'll explain it to you now. So I break down 3 fights, right? And the first 2 fights I break down for each side. I talk about common opponents that they faced that you can relate to the current opposition of either Max Holloway or Justin Gaethje. And I talk about if they did well against them in one scenario of one of their fights. And in the second fight, I talk about if they did bad and what the other side can look from there. And I'm like, all right, well, he fought a common opponent. He did bad here. And maybe Justin Gaethje or Max Holloway can take advantage. Or he fought a common opponent here. He did really good. And how can Max Holloway or Justin Gaethje take advantage, or why does that give them the chance to really win their fight? So, that's how it usually goes. And obviously, I talk about their most recent fight because in any film study or any form of tape watching, you have to watch their first fight because you're not as good as your last performance. You know what I'm saying? It's just a fact. So yeah, that's kind of how we break it down. And I want to start off with the Max blessed Holloway side. I want to talk about some fights I looked at. And I want to get the bad over with. And I talked about his Dustin Poirier fight, right? So this fight in particular, before we talk about the tape, this is the fight that a lot of people are going to be looking at. Well, this isn't his first push to 155. This is really his second because he fought Dustin Poirier a long time ago at UFC 236. And here's the thing. Here's the argument from all the Max fans that tried to discredit this performance or try to say it shouldn't be talked about necessarily going into this matchup is, he didn't make a real legitimate weight push, no legitimate weight training camp, didn't put the pounds on the right way, this and that. He just kind of showed up on the scale and fought Dustin Poirier. And yeah, it was kind of short notice, but I agree it was. But 6 weeks, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's a training camp for most people. So, but yeah, obviously there were some things, obviously with him looking smaller, that I felt like it played a factor. But in terms of the actual boxing placement and skills that Dustin Poirier showed on Max Holloway, I don't think anything had to do with the weight. And we'll talk about why I feel the way I feel. And it was a phenomenal fight, by the way. I think this fight kind of gets put in a category of domination. It was a very, very close fight, and it was very competitive. And here's the thing. The southpaw boxing placement from Dustin Poirier is what gave Dustin the early lead here. His right hand was money. He was landing. But, Max did some nice things here, It was a scrap. But as much as Max had the volume, it was the power from Dustin Poirier that really, really changed the tide here for Dustin. And every time he was able to land a counter right hand or a counter cross, he was just able to hurt Max. I know Max likes to say he didn't get hurt, but it looked like he got fucking wobbled here. And he just did such a great job of even catching him with lead hooks sometimes outside. Like, he just did a good job of using punching placement with power. You know what I'm saying? He just did such a great job of that. And Max just didn't really have an answer besides volume, and he couldn't really hurt Dustin Poirier back. And it just was good. But one thing I liked that Max did was the body work here. I thought that was good. But man, again, the right hand placement for Dustin Poirier just to hurt Max Holloway here. He really hurt him bad in the second round. Kind of dropped him semi. He didn't get really dropped, but he did do the squat And that was impressive here, and just beautiful work here by Dustin Poirier. Lead hook placement good here, and they have this cool little moment in the fight where I like where they're kind of they're staring down with each other. And from this fight on, Max did a good job in this third round of trying to get it back, and he started to overwhelm Poirier with volume, and Poirier really didn't have an answer. It seemed like he was getting a little tired, but Poirier obviously has great cardio, and this is where the size, I think, factor played into the matchup, where obviously Max wasn't a real lightweight, was the wrestling. I think that's where the size played a factor, was the fact that Dustin Poirier was able to get takedowns, and it was good. But Max did a good job of landing beautiful body shots here, something that he's going to be able to do against a guy like Justin Gaethje, and something I think is probably one of his key ways to win. But what really changed this fight from being, in my humble opinion, from being Max Holloway changing the tide, getting the last 2 rounds, was the brutal knee that Dustin Poirier landed on him. He landed this brutal knee that cut him open, and damage obviously is really big, especially if it's just volume and not really wrestling control that's being displayed here by Max. Yeah, it kind of got Dustin those rounds. And that knee changed the whole entire fight, in my humble opinion. And yeah, it kind of got him that win. But I thought Max had a good showing here. He didn't look too bad. It was a good, honest fight, good scrap. But just Dustin Poirier's, again, right hand placement, southpaw punching, lead hook placement too, was just on point. He just fought. He caught. I'm not gonna say he fought. He caught Max in the right positions at the right time, and that's something Justin Gaethje is gonna have to be looking at. Like, Justin Gaethje, this is probably the number one fight you're gonna have to be looking at, is changing stances. Obviously, getting that southpaw work in, getting that southpaw right hand coming in. He has a beautiful placement of it, really good speed and timing. But yeah, that's something Justin Gaethje is going to have to look at, and just obviously maintaining with Max. You're not going to out-volume Max, but if you can maintain with Max, you can win this fight. And that's what Dustin Poirier did. He could not match that volume, but he maintained right in the volume area, right? He didn't far too all, he didn't let Max take the complete lead in significant strikes, but he was able to keep up with him, and then he changed the tide with power. That's what Justin Gaethje is going to have to do, and we know who Justin Gaethje is. He is a guy that puts significant damage on people, that's very apparent, and stands out in a very violent sport. Think about that. He stands out when it comes to damage in a very violent sport. And that's what I think, in my humble opinion, Justin Gaethje is going to have to be looking for. So obviously that was a bad fight where Max dealt with a puncher, a really good puncher, a guy with power who's similar to Justin Gaethje in a lot of areas. But let's talk about a performance where Max completely outclassed a good puncher, good boxer, and a competent fighter who I'm a big fan of, Calvin Kattar. Now this fight, I got ridiculed a lot for my pick here. I'll say to this day, I did pick Calvin Kattar like a loser. I was famously, I don't know if I'm famous, but I got ridiculed for saying no Boston man is going to lose to some Hawaiian, and I had to eat those words like motherfucking crow. And it was a great performance by Max. The level changing, the body work, everything he did in this fight was just beautiful. And what really got him this fight was his speed. And he just was the first one to the punch here, man. He just didn't let Kattar settle. He didn't let him have any opportunity to land good output. And one thing I love that he did was that cross to the body and that jab to the body to start off every combo. That's how he really led all his punches. And he just did a beautiful job. Great spinning heel kick to the body here. And just great body work. Just great, phenomenal body work. That's something that he's going to have to be doing against Justin Gaethje, is legitimate body work here. Just outpacing him. Not giving him a chance to respond. Beautiful elbow here. Hurt Kattar. Just again, and then went right back to the body when he was hurt, and he just didn't let him rest. And he's gonna have to overwhelm Gaethje, but be defensively responsible at the same time. And he did that in this fight. He did a good job of hitting and not getting hit, and he just put a pace on Kattar. But everything started off with that jab to the body or a cross to the body. Beautiful head kick here landed by him. That was awesome, and that was great work. But he just every time. Jab to the head, cross to the body. then a body kick, then a beautiful uppercut to lead him off, right? Like he just was doing a lot of great things, right? Great body work here. Again, jab to the body, rear hook to the body again. Like it's just beautiful work. Good defense here. Showed a lot of great defense. It was just on another level, man. Like I can't describe to you like how insane this performance is just rewatching it. And he just was on another level. Cater's a legitimate puncher too, and for him to go out here and do him like this, just stop him. And obviously Cater relies more on a jab heavy kind of fight, and Max did a good job of taking his jab away by always level changing with his jab, and he just did a great job of that. And every time he hurt Cater with body work, he did a good job of going up top with elbows, and he just got out the way of anything Cater threw at him. And I was impressed. I just was impressed by this performance in general. And it's one of those masterclass performances. And what kills me the most, like, yeah, I remember watching this live, he's fucking yelling at the commentary, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC, baby," and just slipping punches. It was all she wrote after that. You know what I'm saying? It was all, like, I knew it was a wrap. And that's the Max Holloway we're gonna need to see if he plans on beating Justin Gaethje. That's what he's gonna have to do, in my humble opinion. Can he do it? Maybe, but one of the best things he did in that fight was level changing, jabs, crosses, just always having multiple targets. And that's what really fucked with Cater. He didn't really have an opportunity to do that with he didn't really have an opportunity to do that against Dustin Poirier. I think the wrestling made that a bit of a factor with his level changes being disrupted. And he just wasn't able to level change like he was against Cater, who primarily decided to strike with him. And I assume Justin Gaethje will do the same thing. But yeah, so let's talk about Max Holloway's most recent fight. That was the Korean Zombie fight, and this ended in spectacular fashion. And it's considered a great performance, kind of, but there are some real bad tells in this fight where it just makes me lean completely towards Justin Gaethje. Even though Max did some good things here, obviously got the finish, he did what he needed to do, but Korean Zombie had success, and he was 36 going into this matchup, completely washed after getting destroyed by Volk. But he was catching Max those first two exchanges, but Max obviously was able to test that chin of Korean Zombie, and Korean Zombie wasn't able to pass that test. He hurt him a few times, but even after getting hurt, Zombie did a good job of just finding these looping lead hooks and just finding shots against Max in the pocket, and just charging at him, and he did a really good job of that. But obviously Max, he hurt him in the second round, went for the anaconda choke. Was it? No, went for the dart choke, my bad. I almost thought he got him out of there, and Zombie survived. And then obviously Zombie decided to go on fucking suicide mission and go for it in that third round and just chase Max Holloway down, try to go for it, and tried to brawl with him. And Max did a really good job of throwing that counter right hand down the middle and just got him really good, man. Got him out of there with the quickness. I was super impressed by that knockout. But again, here are the facts. Zombie coming off one of the worst beatings in a title fight ever against Volkanovski, and 36 years old at 145 pounds. Obviously, his chin's been cracked a few times, just not the same guy. And he retired after that fight, and we kind of just we all knew what we saw. We all knew what was going to happen, and we knew Max was going to go out there and punish that old man. It was just lambs to the slaughter. But Zombie had success. I mean, the jumping lead hook, the 3-2, the swish stance lead hook. He did a lot of things where he caught Max slacking. And even though Max won this fight, it wasn't a great performance. And that is probably what is Judgment Day for me. That's what picks the fight for me. It's this fight in particular. It's his most recent fight. But again, at the same time, I still tell people he has a lot of avenues to win this fight. This is a very close fight. And obviously we're at the part where we ended the film study side for Max Holloway. So let's talk about Max Holloway's keys to victory. even though I feel the way I feel, and you guys know I've said it, I stated in this video multiple times, the direction where I'm going to go pick this fight. But obviously, let's talk about, does Max have a chance in this fight? Of course he does. And I'll give you his 3 keys to victory. His volume, one. We all know that is what makes him and breaks him, basically. If he is not going out there out voluming you, I don't know, out pressuring you, out pacing you, I don't know how else to say it, but if he's not doing that, then that's not a Max Holloway fight. So yeah, that's one. Obviously his body shots, that's going to be really big here, and I'm speaking more or less his level changing jab to the body and his cross to the body. Justin Gaethje doesn't throw knees, so I don't think he has anything to worry about in that particular sense, and that there is going to set up a lot of his combinations. Justin Gaethje has been known to be weak to the body, and that's something that Max Holloway is going to have to take advantage of. And last but not least, I'm saying this, control the space. And why I say he needs to control the space and control the tempo. He cannot allow Justin Gaethje to dictate this fight wherever he wants to dictate, in terms of putting pressure on Max, in terms of using his lateral movement, kind of dancing around the octagon. Max Holloway needs to keep him in a corner and work him there. He needs to cut the cage effectively, and he cannot allow Gaethje to have free range. And that's where Gaethje does his best work, is when he has free range and he can really, analyze his opponent and kind of dictate his punching and his placement. If Max Holloway can control that and stop that, I mean, Max Holloway can really, truly win this fight. So those are my biggest things for Max Holloway to do. Now, do I think he's going to do it? Absolutely not, but hey, it is what it is. But we're at this part where obviously we talked about Max Holloway's keys to victories, his film study fights, how they kind of, how they look going into this matchup. And yeah, so now we got to talk about the highlight, Justin Gaethje. And I said body shots have been a weakness to Justin Gaethje's career. And one fight that I look at where Max Holloway should be watching this on repeat is his Eddie Alvarez fight. Justin Gaethje, he obviously very new in the UFC, and he went in there and decided to go fight with one of the most violent dudes in the lightweight division, and thought he could out-brawl a master brawler, and he learned very quick that it's a lot tougher than it looks, and now obviously Gaethje had a lot of success here with leg kicks. That's pretty much it in terms of punches, or in terms of strikes. It was the leg kicks, but Eddie Alvarez, he invested. He had a plan. I'm going to work this kid to the body. I'm going to break him that way. And he did a beautiful job of that. And Max Holloway has to be looking at this. The work to the body that Eddie Alvarez did was phenomenal. He invested. And obviously, Gaethje invested to the legs, but Eddie invested to the body and to the head, and it paid off, right? It wasn't just he was throwing body shots. He was throwing body shots and ending it with a lead hook. And still, Gaethje was landing these leg kicks, and it was debilitating Eddie. But Eddie's just movement, everything about Eddie in this fight was just so sharp. Like, Eddie was very sharp going into this matchup, and Eddie's just boxing was just on point tonight, or that night. But obviously, Gaethje's leg kicks were a problem for Eddie and eventually did hurt Eddie a lot. And it was hurting. But what Eddie did so beautifully was attack the body. Don't even have Gaethje thinking about it. And then just land this beautiful knee out of nowhere and just get him out of there. And it was one of those knees where we were like, wow, what a phenomenal performance. Even though his legs were dead, he made those investments. He knew it was like, okay, this might not go longer than I really needed to go. And I don't think I got the leg support to really make this out for the 15-minute duration. So let me go try to throw this knee. He's going to be thinking about body. And then obviously Eddie did the smart thing. He threw the knee. And that's the beautiful thing when you do that. And that's what Max Holloway is going to have to be doing. Because not only will those body shots or just those level changing jabs will not only just change your game, but it opens to more strikes. Because Max Holloway isn't a one-dimensional boxer necessarily like Eddie Alvarez. No disrespect. Max Holloway has high kicks, has spinning wheel kicks to the body. Obviously, he's obviously a well-rounded striker, and those level changes to the body could really open up a lot of his strikes. And he could really style on Gaethje if he does it the right way. And that's something he can really learn from this fight. But obviously, Gaethje's improved since then, and we can't really judge him off of that. Like the same way people will say, don't judge Max Holloway off the Dustin Poirier fight, you can say the same thing about this. And Gaethje, he showed who he was against a good volume puncher in one of the biggest fights of his career, one of the fights that really, really made him a made man as a contender was his Tony Ferguson performance. Now, I know Tony Ferguson is on a insane losing streak, but at this time, Tony Ferguson was on the pound for pound list. He was the number one lightweight in the world. You know what I'm saying? Tony Ferguson was that guy. But Gaethje, he beat him up, man. And Gaethje did a lot of things that Korean Zombie did, is using space, finding the lead hook, changing stances when he needed to, and just catching Tony a lot. And that's what he did. Leg kicks were beautiful here. But Tony did have some success. Obviously, the uppercut landed for him. I always want to mention that. Tony did win the second round. He did. It is a fact. He got Justin Gaethje there. But besides that, it was one-way traffic after that. Justin Gaethje, he just decided to destroy Tony Ferguson with counter punching and precise punching placement. He was so accurate in this fight, and he just made Tony look stupid. Tony couldn't just go out there and try to out volume him by putting pressure on him. He had to worry about the leg kicks and the punching power of Justin Gaethje. Eventually, the damage was just too much, and Gaethje finished him with a jab, basically, and it was probably one of the most brutal beatings I've seen in a very long time. But what Gaethje really did in this fight is obviously timing, and I'll say it again all the time. His timing and his accuracy and being precise is what won him this fight. The spacing, the 3-2, that's all he had was a 3-2 for real and a leg kick. But he would throw it in combination. That's one thing. He wouldn't just throw one punch or two punches. He would throw multiple. But he would find the moments where Tony was trying to volume him, trying to put pressure on him, and then he pop every time. He just punished him every time. And that's what, obviously, Max Holloway is a way better technical boxer or technical striker than Tony Ferguson, but he is a volume puncher. He does break people down, and that's the same thing that Max Holloway does. And Max Holloway, we saw him, 36-year-old Korean Zombie did it. He was using, very simple timing and counter punching techniques in that fight to find the proper punch placement, and he did it. He had success there. The only problem was obviously in moments where he tried to brawl and where he got caught. If Justin Gaethje doesn't try to brawl with this guy and keeps it technical and just really times Max Holloway's entries, I don't know what Max can do, and I think this just fight kind of proves it. And then you see, his most recent performance where he got his ultimate get back against Dustin Poirier. It was beautiful. I don't care what no one says. I know some people like to argue with me and say Dustin Poirier won the first round. Go, fall. Go. I'm about to say something mean, but just go do whatever you got to do and continue to believe that. But Justin Gaethje was boxing his bleeding head off, bro. He made that fight a lot different than the first one. He was just whooping him, bro, in the boxing range. I don't care what no one says. Dustin Poirier, he landed one maybe semi-good punch in there, but that's about it, bro. Justin Gaethje was just outworking him, and here's the punch that he obviously landed that semi-hurt him, but that's about it. And then obviously Gaethje fucking knocked his head off to the second row at Salt Lake City in that arena at UFC 292, and that was just a beautiful night. And he just caught him lacking. He really did. And that's what Justin Gaethje is good at. I said it again. He is very unique in creating damage in one of the most violent sports in the world. He stands out in creating damage like no other in one of the most violent sports. Do you understand what that means? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and Max Holloway's gonna fight this guy. That's why I stand tall and I tell you to your face, y'all, to the public, that Justin Gaethje will decimate this guy. If he fights this fight smart, the only way Justin Gaethje can really lose this fight is if he decides to lose this fight. You know what I'm saying? But if he fights to his best ability, he's going to win this fight. He is going to dominate. I think there's levels to this sport. And, you know, I think Gaethje is just a better technical striker overall than Max Holloway. And I'm standing on that. And obviously, I'll tell you, not Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje's keys to victory. Number one, I really didn't bring this up, his leg kicks. Those leg kicks are going to be big in this fight. We saw what Alexander Volkanovski was able to do in their first fight against Max Holloway. He exposed the leg kicks. It's a weapon, and it can be used. And we know Justin Gaethje is one of the best leg kickers at 155. So that's has to be number one. But the next two are big too. Counter punching and punch placement for Justin Gaethje. That is big for him. His 2-3 down the pipe has to be there. It really does. Max Holloway is going to put pressure on him. He's going to try to those level changes, and his timing has to be there. And if he's like how he normally is, he will get him. It's just if he fights his fight. And last but not least, defense. I think defense here is big for Justin Gaethje. I actually think Justin Gaethje, I know some people might disagree with me, has the better defense than out of the two. Just Max Holloway just has a better chin. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, Gaethje's been caught and he's been hit a few times, but besides that, I think if we compare what Gaethje did to Dustin Poirier in their second fight, I know it was just a round, but he had way better defense than they did in their first fight with Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. And then you look what Dustin Poirier did, and we're just talking about striking and defense, all right? He didn't have good defense in that fight, especially Max Holloway against Dustin Poirier. And if Justin Gaethje can get out the way of certain punches and then also make Max Holloway pay for his misses, I think Justin Gaethje's just a God honest, good favorite in this fight. And I just think you have to pick Justin Gaethje in this moment. And that's why I am. I said it in the beginning of the video, and I'm going to say it at the end. I got Justin Gaethje here by 4th round TKO. I think it's going to be a longer fight than most people expect. I think Gaethje can keep up with Max Holloway. Obviously, he trains at Elevation in Colorado. I think he's going to know that the volume is going to be crazy. And I just think he's going to do it better than Dustin Poirier ever did. And I think Justin Gaethje is going to be the first guy to finish Max Holloway. I know I've said it a few times, and I've ate crow, but I think this is where I'm proven right, and I think Justin Gaethje finishes Max Holloway. I just think Justin is the superior fighter. He truly, truly is. And I think he proves it as Saturday at UFC 300 on the biggest card for the BMF title. Do I think Max has a chance? Of course. Of course. Everyone has a chance in this sport. But at the end of the day, I think Justin's better. I just think Justin's better. He's the better striker, has the better power, has the better pop, and I think he's gonna knock out Max Holloway and finish that man. But it should be a competitive fight while it lasts, though. I will admit that. And I wouldn't be surprised. But obviously, you guys know I got a unit on Justin Gaethje's money line, and I'm thinking about putting him in a parlay with another piece. But yeah, I'm pretty confident Justin Gaethje gets the victory here. But hey, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter. Like, comment, and share the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the film study. It's your boy eBay, and I'm out of here, y'all. Love y'all, and goodbye.
YouTube channel. I'm gonna go check that out. And hey, subscribe to eBay's Fight Prediction. Let's keep the eBay Fight Predictions Nation growing.